Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, COVID-19 is no longer deemed a global health emergency. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The World Health Organization made the announcement today saying the virus's downward trend for more than a year has allowed most of people to return to normal life. The United States is set to end its emergency declaration next week. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says that could mean higher health care costs.
It's been a long 3 years, but the WHO has finally declared an end to the global COVID public health emergency, and the United States government is set to follow suit. San Diego's La Maestra Community Health Centers is celebrating that milestone and their 33rd anniversary in person, says the organization's Cynthia Kaiser.
We're transitioning from many of our visits happening virtually, opening our doors and doing a lot of expansion in the community so there's an increase of access.
On May 11th, the U.S. is expected to end the national COVID-19 public health emergency. That means the sunsetting of some health coverage and cost savings put in place during the COVID-19 pandemic. Kaiser says they're trying to inform people through community outreach.
There's more changes that are happening with the emergency Medi-Cal, and different campaigns are underway to get the message out to our patients and our community on the renewal so that they can maintain with coverage.
People will now have to pay for their at-home COVID tests and stay in their healthcare network to receive COVID vaccines and PCR tests. Plus, patients on controlled substances and many other medical situations will no longer be able to use telehealth for their prescriptions, says health insurance expert Luis Norris.
So this is really a situation where if you're on Medicare and you've been utilizing these telehealth flexibilities, which a lot of people have, you're going to want to check with your doctor and see what changes are happening.
Even though the COVID emergency is almost over, UC San Diego infectious disease specialist Francesca Torriani says the next pandemic is just a question of time. So the U.S. and the world needs to learn from the mistakes it made with COVID-19. Her advice?
Strengthening public health, the public health response, the public health ability to screen for these diseases and to respond to a threat and mitigate very fast to a threat.
Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Changes are coming next week at the CDC. For the first time in 3 years, the agency will stop posting a national count of COVID-19 cases. The color-coded maps of county-level and state-level transmission will also go away. Instead, the CDC plans to track the burden and spread of disease through hospitalizations and deaths. Future recommendations for precautions like masking will be tied to hospitalization levels. This weekend, housing advocates are rallying for more homes to be built in the city of San Diego. YIMBY Democrats of San Diego County and ADA United will host dual rallies tomorrow afternoon, and one will be on Normal Street in Hillcrest across from the Pride flag. The other will be at Doyle Community Park and Regents Road. Both begin at noon. The fate of California's new solar rules remains unsettled this week. 3 groups are suing to have the decision changed as regulators prepare to discuss requests to overturn their decision. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has the details.
The California Public Utilities Commission voted 5-0 to approve the new rules last December after more than 2 years of contentious debate. But the San Diego-based Protect Our Communities Foundation filed a legal appeal with 2 other groups asking the panel to reconsider. There was no reply for 4 months. However, California regulators did agree to consider petitions to review their decision in late June.
We were awaiting a response. There had been none. We're well past 60 days. Now that there's been a filing, the commission has given us a date when they are going to provide a response.
The three advocacy groups say regulators failed to follow California's utilities code when they adopted new regulations, which reduced the value of electricity sold back to the grid. They argue the new rules don't account for all the benefits of solar, don't encourage more solar adoption, and don't include a plan to expand solar in disadvantaged communities. Challenging the CPUC is difficult because the courts aren't steeped in the issues being debated.
Legislature has always granted a level of deference to the commission and limited judicial review.
If regulators hear the petitions to change their ruling and don't make the changes, the Court of Appeal will review the legal request and decide if an appeal is warranted. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The number of SDG&E customers behind on their bills has declined slightly in the past year, but still accounts for a quarter of residential customers. Monthly figures submitted to the California Public Utilities Commission show 337,000 customers through March 31st have statements more than 30 days in arrears, and that's down from the 356,000 who missed payment deadlines a year ago. However, the amount of customers collectively owe continues to grow, with the balance totaling to $250 million. That's an average debt of about $744. An alarming new report out this week is highlighting a growing concern among educators in the United States. Test scores reveal a sharp decline for many U.S. students in history and civics. Mike Valerio has more on what's behind this new trend and what experts say needs to be done.
For parents and teachers across the United States, the revelations are troubling, but perhaps not surprising.
The declines that we're seeing, particularly in U.S. history, were widespread for lower, middle, and higher performing students.
A report from the National Center for Education Statistics, often referred to as the nation's report card, shows a sharp drop in test scores for 8th graders in U.S. history and civics across several themes, including democracy, culture, technology, and the changing role of America in the world. 40% of students scored below basic proficiency in 2022. That's an increase of 6% since 2018. And only 22% of students tested were found to be proficient or advanced in civics. Ebony Walton, a statistician with the organization that conducted the study, says the results highlight a continuing pattern of lower test scores across several subjects, including math and reading.
On the whole, we are seeing, particularly for our lower performing students, declines almost across the board, regardless of subject.
Experts point to the disruption from the COVID-19 pandemic as a major reason behind the recent struggles for American students. But when it comes to history and civics, Walton sees a problem that's existed for years.
We see no change almost in 30 years on average, or across what we call our percentiles for lower, middle, and higher performing students in either of these subjects, meaning that in almost 30 years, we're not tracking much progress in these areas.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
It's not all bad news for schools here in San Diego. Coming up, meet the students elected to the school board to represent their classmates and hear their hopes for the future. Today, San Diego State officially renamed its West Commons Mall for distinguished alumna Ellen Ochoa. The former astronaut and director of NASA's Johnson Space Center was on hand for the ceremony. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge has the story.
Just as others inspired me, I hope that this building will serve to inspire a generation of Aztecs to reach for the stars. Thank you very much.
Ellen Ochoa grew up in La Mesa and got her bachelor's degree in physics from San Diego State in 1980. Today, she returned to SDSU for the renaming of West Commons as the Ellen Ochoa Pavilion. For years, Ochoa managed the NASA mission at the Johnson Space Center, but soon after first joining NASA, she became an astronaut and flew her first mission
booster ignition and liftoff
on the Space Shuttle Discovery 30 years ago. It was one of 4 space flights.
Certainly loved seeing the Earth from space. San Diego Harbor is very distinctive, so I did get a chance to fly over that. But to be involved in science research, we were my first 2 flights, we were studying the Earth's atmosphere and the problem of the ozone hole and ozone depletion. And then on my 3rd and 4th flights, we were part of assembling the International Space Station.
Ochoa made history as the first Latin American woman in space. At San Diego State, she claims to have changed her major 5 times, eventually choosing physics. She took part in the music program throughout her college years. SDSU President Adela de la Torre said she was almost certainly the first astronaut to play the flute in space.
Yes, she was a physicist, she was an astronaut, but she was also a musician. And that is so important to understand, because in order to broaden our horizons, we need to embrace every dimension of who we are.
Ochoa is now retired, but she says she remains excited about NASA's work, especially plans for another moon landing.
There's the Artemis program, which is initially people going to the moon and then understanding what it's going to take to go on to Mars as well.
Along with SDSU, Ochoa got a doctoral degree in electrical engineering from Stanford. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The San Diego Blood Bank is working to expand a program that better matches donated blood with patients in need. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman went to see how their process works and the impact it's already having.
Because Rose is my middle name.
Meet Camila Saradpan.
I like to do the art at school because we have painting, we have clay, we have a lot of fun stuff.
The 3rd grader from National City is an adventurous and carefree 9-year-old who enjoys everything about living in San Diego. Her mom, Maria, and dad, Chris, they have their hands full keeping up with her and her sister, Michaela.
Let's have a skipping race now. No, we tied.
One of their favorite places to go is Seaport Village.
Our girls love the carousels there. We like to take in all the sunshine because of the sunshine tax that we pay here in San Diego.
I know, yeah, all over San Diego. The beach, we love to go to the beach, like almost once a week when it's sunny, we'll have a bonfire at the beach.
Get some fun.
Camila also enjoys spending time at home, playing games with her mom, dad, and sister.
I play the game of life, Monopoly, charades, and some other stuff like that.
How about the card game?
Taco Cat, goat cheese pizza.
Something that separates Camila from other 9-year-olds is the number of blood transfusions she's had.
154.
154?
155.
Oh, yeah.
She was born with the blood disorder thalassemia. It's an inherited condition and results in fewer healthy red blood cells delivering oxygen. Ever since Camila was 2 months old, she's had to get regular blood transfusions at Rady Children's Hospital.
At first it's a little scary, but after a while it becomes fun because then you get to know all the nurses and everybody there.
Those who are chronically transfused, like Camila, depend on getting the right blood match. There's so many different combinations, 30 different blood groups, and hundreds of so-called antigens. If everything doesn't match up come transfusion time, patients can have reactions varying in severity.
It's called alloimmunization. It recognizes foreign substances or something that's typically not from you inside, and so your blood and your body start rejecting it.
Nikhil Nayak is the San Diego Blood Bank's chief business officer. He says that's where precision blood comes in. It's a testing process the blood bank is expanding to try and get patients like Camila the closest blood match possible.
Her mom confirms that the doctors are saying she's starting to develop antibodies, and the supply is getting a little bit squeezed in terms of who she can actually receive blood from.
That's why Camila's mom, Maria, says her daughter needs the closest blood match possible for every transfusion.
It's scary to think about if she's going to be transfusion dependent her whole life, and the donor pool is smaller, and if she doesn't have a matched donor, then she can't have the treatment that she needs to live. So we're grateful for the precision blood.
Right now, the blood bank does around 15,000 precise blood tests every year. The process involves about 9 hours of DNA sequencing. Nayak says more clinical trials are underway to bolster the case that precision blood matching is better for patients. He says to increase the testing, more hospitals and blood centers will need to come on board.
The way blood typing has been done, it's a bit antiquated.
The process of identifying good blood matches starts in the blood bank's laboratory. Here, scientists are sequencing patient and donor blood, hoping to find the closest matches possible. Nayak says they rely on a diverse donor population.
At the end of the day, precision blood works because if a blood donor looks more like the recipient genetically, and oftentimes that's from your ethnic background, it's more likely that the transfusion will be successful.
Hi, Jocelyn. I'm Camila.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. I'd like to say thank you for donating blood today.
Camila has become sort of an ambassador for the blood bank. She enjoys thanking donors personally, and her parents call them superheroes.
I know for a lot of donors, it's you never get to see a face with, like, you know, with a name, or you don't know who it's going to, but you see this like spunky little kid show up, and thank you for, you know, she looks healthy, and she looks healthy because of all those blood donors.
I win. Actually, I think we tied. Okay, now back.
Camila is enjoying being a big sister.
Okay, that's enough flowers, Michaela.
And Camila has big plans for the future. Her dad is a culinary instructor, and she wants to follow in his footsteps.
I kind of want to be a chef like Dad.
And she has a message for those watching.
Please donate blood for me.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Well, tomorrow is Walk for Animals, one of San Diego Humane Society's most important annual fundraisers, and this year's event is more important than ever. The Humane Society says this is usually their slow season, but they haven't seen a reprieve since October. And right now they have 1,900 animals in their care, and the money raised during the walk will be used to support 40,000 and other animals this year. Other than walking or donating, the Society says fostering is another major way to help right now.
There's a huge need in our community right now to support homeless pets. Every shelter is full, every rescue is full. So please consider adopting if you have space in your heart and in your home. If you don't want to do something permanently, maybe start by fostering.
And for those willing to open their home to a pet for a short time, it's an easy process. You can just fill out an application online, take an online training course, and complete a consultation with a foster specialist. Walk for Animals begins 7 a.m. tomorrow at Liberty Station. The San Diego Unified School District tonight has elected its newest student school board members. One of them is an incumbent who is a sophomore, the other a junior with 4.3 grade point average. KPBS education reporter MG Perez was there when they got the good news.
This Friday morning pep rally at Lincoln High School started with a major announcement.
I'd like to extend a warm congratulations to Blessed Lavender Williams.
16-year-old Blessed Lavender Williams is a junior at Lincoln, and now one of the new San Diego Unified Student School Board trustees. High school students in the district cast electronic ballots last week that included 5 candidates. Blessed is an honors student. She's a varsity athlete, co-president of an organization that empowers young women of color, and she's clear on her agenda.
What I want to get accomplished is to make sure all my fellow students have a voice and know that there's someone on this board that's looking out for them, and for all fellow students to get prepared for their future lives.
So we're currently surprising our next student board member, Matthew Cotoriano. This will be his second term.
Leah Nepomuceno is the outgoing student board member who led the district's team notifying the winners this morning.
Wanted to congratulate you on being our next student board member.
15-year-old Matthew Cotoriano is an incumbent and sophomore at San Diego High School. He's known on the board for his bow ties and strong support for student mental health programs.
Is the data about who is having mental health issues matching up with the supports that we're offering?
We talk about grades, and so many other aspects of school are defined by the mental state that people are in, and that all comes down to having a rock on campus, to having a trusted adult. And I think that we can do a lot to cultivate safe spaces on our campuses.
Both students are also committed to the passage of Assembly Bill 275, which would give school districts the option of paying student trustees. It would not require compensation or set a specific pay rate. The proposal is now with the state Senate for consideration. Blesson is already advocating for students.
Paying student board members for their work would remove the financial barrier of socioeconomic disadvantaged students like me, a barrier that leaves students like me who hold a 4.3 grade point average unable to participate.
We at our school district support so much equal opportunity to students, but let's be real here, this position is not
equal.
Blessin and Matthew will be sworn in as student school board members at the end of June. Their term officially begins July 1st, just in time for the new school year and all that it will bring. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Well, we're dealing with something I like to call nuisance weather. It's been cloudy, it's been chilly, and we've also been dealing with scattered brief showers. Though there is some good news, a quieter weekend's on tap. Now tonight around Metro, we're dropping down to a low of 56. We'll have partly cloudy skies. And if we look around the region, it's going to be a lot of the same. Oceanside dropping down to a low of 50 with partly cloudy skies. As we head more inland to Mount Laguna, with a low of 39 with a few clouds, and similar story in Borrego Springs as we're going to be dropping down to 51. Now tomorrow we'll see some more sunshine. From San Diego to Oceanside, there along the coast, more inland as well. We're going to see plenty of sunshine, and temperatures are going to rise slightly for the start of the weekend. I'm going to give you a sneak peek to Sunday too. High pressures building right offshore. It's going to be pleasant across SoCal. Here's the coast. Here's your next 5 days. Saturday 67, rinse and repeat for Sunday. Periods of sun, though we will start to see a few more clouds as we head into the beginning of the week with partly sunny conditions. Temperatures though staying pretty steady in the mid to upper 60s. Now more inland, well, similar story, at least with temperatures and with the sunshine. It's going to be cloudy with some sun. Cooler, I guess, for Saturday into Sunday. Not too bad, but then we're up to 72 on Monday. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, staying relatively steady, but just dipping a little bit to slightly cooler, slightly below those historical averages Tuesday and Wednesday. But hey, that sunshine sticks around. Similar story in the mountains. Now it is going to be a little cold, but as we head into Monday and Tuesday, we get to the 50s. Windy though Tuesday, sunny and cold by Wednesday with a high of just 49. And in the deserts, well, highs are going to be in the 80s. They're not going to struggle. It's going to be pleasant with plenty of sunshine. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Hollywood writers hit the picket lines this week. So could Comic-Con see some changes this summer if the work stoppage drags on? SDSU's Mira Kopik offers his thoughts in the Friday Business Report.
You know, this writer strike, you know, for 11,000 workers, it has major impact across the entire entertainment and marketing ecosystem. There are what I would say sympathetic people that may not cross picket lines. The management will be there at a Comic-Con, but whether an actor will say, you know what, I'm not going to attend because I want to be in solidarity with my writing brethren, that might be the case. So yes, there will be some important panels where the writers will, you know, would add a lot of value, but you know, as they say in show business, the show must go on, and they'll find a way around it for Comic-Con per se. It may disappoint if you know, people are very interested in a particular you know, fantasy fiction show, and the writers that they're hoping would be there are not going to be able to talk about plot lines, but it shouldn't impact Comic-Con tremendously since it's already sold out, and people are going to go whether there are writers there or not.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, why many Americans are choosing gig work over permanent jobs. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The first coronation of a British monarch in 70 years is just hours away. In London, all of the rehearsals are finished and everything is in place for the big day. But as KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us, there was still some last-minute prep going on today in a very British part of San Diego.
The Union Jack is flying above a San Diego establishment with strong English ties. But not just any Union Jack. This one features a portrait of the man of the hour.
Super excited. It's such an historical event that we just can't wait for it.
The special edition of the British flag is fluttering above the Shakespeare pub. Nikki McEwen Beattie is the general manager.
So we'll be opening up at 2:30 a.m. and we will be showing the live ceremony and the procession. We will stay open until 6:15 to raise a glass of champagne as he goes out onto the balcony and waves to the crowds for the first time as the official king.
Nikki and her team have been busy amping up the already royal vibe here.
Well, we have all the bunting up, obviously inside and outside. In the morning I have commemorative plates. We will be decorating everything in red, white and blue, so we'll be good to go. And obviously we have himself here as well. I mean, I'm sure there'll be lots of pictures taken with him in the morning.
Next door, the Shakespeare Corner Shop and Afternoon Tea has completed their royal ramp-up. On the deck, unity with the UK is the order of the day, as patrons enjoyed proper British tea.
Okay, Selena, ready when you... We made a special scone in his honor. We did a blackberry and fig scone.
Selena Stokely owns the place.
We made a strawberry and champagne jam. We made Balmoral oat cakes in a shout out to his residence in Scotland. The table is...
And there's plenty of coronation kitsch.
We have some tea towels. We even have a bell in his honor. Spoons, that's always a big thing that people collect for these royal events.
If you're not up for getting up in the wee hours of the morning, not to worry, you can still get your British fix here at the House of England in Balboa Park. They will be staging a series of celebratory events, including serving tea and scones, and it all begins at 11 tomorrow morning. John Carroll, KPBS News.
And you'll find complete coverage of the coronation and all of the events surrounding it. Coverage on both KPBS television and radio begins at 11:30 this evening. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.